You're listening to your host and psychotherapist, Rhonda Spaziani, on Spaz on Mental Health on greeninkradio.com.
Are you listening? He just repeated the words that came out of her mouth. Now they're listening.
Hi, this is Rhonda, and today's episode is a continuation of the Scary Sibs series, which is all about narcissistic abuse and how we've all often been grown up with it or been exposed to it at some point in our lives. It's very, very prevalent. It is more dominant in the male population, so the female population often is more exposed to it, but it is rising in both sexes now. So it is becoming far more common, and women are starting to catch up. But the question is, often we ask ourselves, those of us that have suffered narcissistic abuse, and maybe we're seeing a pattern where we've had it in our childhood from our scary sibs or our parents or our extended families, whomever was in our lives and influential, teachers, that we see a pattern sometimes in that we may have these people again and again romantically, or we may have them in our professional life or friends, and we continue to be exposed to it. And so we ask the question, is it us? Well, as I always say, it's not you. It's your scary sib. It totally is your scary sib, or your scary boss, or your scary partner. However, there are some things we can do to kind of fortify our boundaries so we don't keep on inviting and asking these people back into our lives, because who the hell wants them? They're terrible. So let's talk a little bit about this. I want to talk first about what our thoughts are like that possibly can be generating and attracting these people into our lives. So there's this great YouTube video called Dr. Bruce Lipton, The Body is an Illusion, and he's a quantum physicist. And he believes that in our bodies we have 50 trillion cells, which are living entities, and we're a community, not a single person, and every cell has a negative voltage on the inside and a positive on the outside. And really, these are like batteries, and there's 1.4 volts per cell, meaning there's 700 trillion volts of electricity in our bodies right this moment. So, and with training and meditation, we can channel that chi, but oftentimes we aren't in control of this energy. But our thoughts are part of that energy. So we are waves of energy in that, and these waves of energy, they don't believe even in the body, quantum physicists, that the physical body, it's that we are waves of energy, and we're all interconnecting, and all these interconnecting waves of energy create the field. And so, for instance, he gives the example that, and we're all vibrating, and we have this vibrational energy. And so the gazelle in nature knows that the lion isn't its friend, right? It just knows. It doesn't go up and say, hey, lion, how are you today? It just knows. It sees and feels that lion's vibration, and it's out of there. We too have that. Plants, all other animals have it, but we're taught since childhood to believe that we have to listen to what people say. Oh, don't go on your first impressions, right? Let's believe that language is truth rather than vibration. And if you recall in your life, there's probably been multiple times in your life where you were like, I am just not feeling it about this person. But somebody else was like, oh, they're really nice, give them a chance, or don't judge a book by its cover, or blah, 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 blah. And we give these people a chance. And lo and behold, before we know it, these people are proving themselves to be exactly what we vibrationally understood them to be from the first moment, that perhaps they're predators or they're not good people. But we were told to believe in it. And time again, this happens. They say, oh, don't trust your intuition. But it's not even intuition. It's a vibrational energy. But here's the thing. Predators, narcissistic abusers are predators. And so if you have a poor self-concept or you're insecure about yourself, they're reading that energy. They're picking up on that energy, and they will sweep in like sharks. Remember, I always say they're like sharks. Definitely like sharks. They'll read that poor self-concept, that inner narrative, and they are coming for blood, baby. They got you. And the other thing is that they come and they basically capitalize on your greatest and wonderful strengths and characteristics. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But what I want to circle back to is there's this study. So not only are we emotionally setting ourselves up to be victimized potentially if we have this poor inner concept, and we are always, I'm not good enough, I'm not attractive enough, I'm not this, I'm not that enough. These people pick up on, these narcissistic abusers pick up on that. They smell that a mile away. And so we need to fortify those boundaries, but we'll talk about that too. But the other thing I want to correlate this to is there's actually was a study in 1984 called the Grayson-Stein study, and they showed a series of videos, no sound, no talking, of people just walking down the streets. And these were violent crime offenders. And they showed them, independent of each other, these videos of people, and they asked them, who would you pick out to be the victim? Who would you attack? Who would you steal from? And with this huge, strong correlational, and then none of them talked to each other, they picked out the exact same people. They weren't based on age. It wasn't based on sex. It wasn't based on race or ethnicity. It was other things. It was confidence in stride. They would not. An athletic build, someone that, looks healthy and strong. Someone that walks like they're with confidence and with purpose. If their gait was smooth, and they weren't, kind of stumbling and looking around and stuff. If they didn't seem to be fearful. So the people that were strong, that had a confident, athletic kind of walk, that looked like they knew where they were going and they weren't like looking around fearfully, they did not get attacked or picked or selected. And there has been research that has also shown that even young, attractive women that live in kind of scary sections of cities and stuff often are not attacked because they are confident, they're athletic, they know where they're going, and they know, and the attacker knows this person's going to be a pain in the ass. This person's going to fight, this person's going to scream, this person's strong and athletic, they could hurt me and punch me back. They don't attack. Well, the same is true from a narcissistic abuser. So even if you fake it till you make it, guys, fake it till you make it. So act like you're confident. Make sure you articulate that your boundaries are strong, even if they are not yet, because a narcissistic abuser knows how to suss out from you how your boundaries are. If you have weak boundaries, they're coming for you. If you're insecure, they're coming for you. They're the same type of predator as these violent criminals were that were in jail. They're coming for you if you're insecure, you're not sure of yourself, and your boundaries are weak. So, and you don't seem like so you want to think of yourself like you're emotionally athletic. Your boundaries are strong. You're not going to put up with shit. You're going to listen to those warning bells, and you're going to listen to those warning bells, and you're going to listen to when you get that visceral sense about something, like something's not right with this person, or if it seems too good to be true, it generally is, because the narcissist is an amazing con person, and they can con you during that love bombing phase. They're conning you, and they are figuring out all of your weak spots during that time. So they are really interrogating you in a very cool, really polished way, so you don't know you're being interrogated. They're getting you to confess to all your fears, your weaknesses, the things you want most out of life, all the things they're going to later on use as weapons against you and to keep you controlled. Dr. Ramani on YouTube also speaks to this very well and very eloquently. So I want to go on to a couple things. So again, I want to circle back to that your strengths. Please know that your strengths are still your strengths, but you have to fortify your fortresses with just about everybody. And yes, once you've had and suffered from narcissistic abuse, you're going to be a little bit more protective. And that's not a bad thing, ultimately. You don't want to be cut off and disassociated and unable to have intimacy forever in your life, but you do want to strengthen and fortify your boundaries. And some people will do that after one time with a narcissistic abuser, and some people take many times before they'll actually get the lesson. We want to be on the level of, we've learned it enough, we think we can go on now. So when they're asking questions, say, I wouldn't put up with that. Oh no, I wouldn't take that. Even if you would, maybe. But when you're first dating with somebody, don't, give too much away. And also don't over self-disclose in the beginning parts of these relationships, because that's what narcissistic abusers will use against you, to demoralize you, humiliate you, to discredit you. So be very careful what you confess when you're dating, and even into years. You don't really ever want to call the cops too much on yourself. Tell it to a therapist, but don't tell it to a narcissistic abuser or a potential possible narcissistic abuser. Keep your card close to your vest. So here's some of the things that they look for. This is what narcissists love. These characteristics. if you're an empathic person. Narcissists love empaths. They love them, love them, love them, love them. And this is what they use. Most of the time, they say that narcissists don't have empathy. That is not true necessarily. They find that they have empathy, but they have what's called cognitive empathy. So what they know is they can intellectualize what you're feeling and then use that against you. They're not feeling it compassionate. They're not compassionate empaths like most of us are. Like we feel it for somebody. We don't deep dive in, but we can throw the rope out to their drowning person because we want to save them. We want to help them. But that's another trap too. We don't want to save anyone emotionally, but we get it. We feel someone else's pain and we can understand it. So too can narcissists, and that often gives them the pass that, oh, they don't know what they're doing. They're incapable of understanding empathy. No, they get it, but they're very manipulative about it. They get it on an intellectual level, and then they use that to con you. They're not feeling true compassion for you, but they'll use that to con you, and they'll also use it against you. They're going to find out your weak points, and they do this during that love bombing phase where everything is so wonderful, and you'll tell them everything in your intimate moments and to bond. Oh, but they're cataloging this. So your empathy is one of the things that draws the narcissist to you to abuse you. There's also your equality, that you believe that everything should be fair in a relationship. They'll use that against you too. So if you think that you want to treat someone really fairly and give them a second shot and give them multiple shots, they use that against you. And if you have a desire to heal and fix people, so if you've come up like in a dysfunctional family, many of us have that desire, or maybe you're just a super nice, good person. But remember, we can't fix anybody, and you particularly cannot fix a narcissist. Narcissists are not fixable. They don't want to be fixed. They have no intention of being fixed. They'll lie to you and say they're going to be fixed, or they're going to work really hard and they're going to change their ways. And just to get you back, they're not going to change their ways. Another way is that if you're trusting and you have integrity, so they go right on that. Because if you don't lie and you aren't manipulative and they can suss out that you're an honest person and you have great ethics, oh, they're going to use that against you. They're going to definitely use that. Absolutely. The other thing is that if you're not a quitter, if you're like, I'm going to stick in here with this relationship, this is our marriage, this is our relationship, you're my family member, whatever, I'm going to work on this, they get that too. That's like a red flag to a bull, really. And the sad thing is that they will take advantage that you are able to and like to love unconditionally. That you're going to continue to love them no matter, how many crappy, rotten things they do. You'll say, I don't like your action, but I love you. Well, that's, again, a major pass for them. So these are some of the things that might get you. So these are all wonderful characteristics. You don't necessarily want to change these characteristics, but like we said in the beginning, is if you have weak boundaries, you do want to strengthen these boundaries. You do want to go more with that vibrational instinct that will tell you, wait, this sound feels too good to be true, or some things are starting to not add up, or you're not liking. Go with those bells. Go with those bells. Go to a therapist. Absolutely. Work on your inner self-concept and your inner dialogue. So every time you say something negative to yourself, change that around. Keep on working on that, working on that. Fake it till you make it. Be emotionally confident, athletic, brave, because they'll feel that. And make sure in your dialogue with people that you're like, I won't accept that. Oh no. And make sure there's no's in your lingo. Be very clear about that. It's okay to say no and have boundaries. It really is. If you are suffering or you're, in recovery, narcissistic abuse recovery, sometimes that's really hard. You've been really beaten down. You've lost your self-concept. You don't have a lot of confidence right now, but you can rebuild. Please know that. Like my sister Raina always says, with narcissistic abuse, it's time, distance, and shielding. Here's the thing. If you're in a narcissistic relationship, it's not going to change. They're going to continue to cheat on you. They're going to lie to you. They're going to discredit you. They're going to bring you down and control you because that is what they need. They need that supply. They are empty vessels. Although they're arrogant, they're also incredibly insecure. So they need the vampires of your juice, your inner self, your self-concept. They love to drain that, to suck that dry. It's like they're like dehydrators, vampires. So it's the only thing that generally is the most effective is go no contact if you can. If you can't, then limit your contact and know that almost everything they say and do is bullshit. They are going to be manipulative. They are going to tell you exactly what you want to hear. They're going to say stuff to your face. They're the most charming and charismatic of cads. So they are definitely going to try to woo you back. And if you even let a crack of that weakness, that vulnerability show through, they're wedging themselves back in. And there's so many times where they're working 2 or 3 people at forever. They don't want to let you get out of their life. So even if they've moved on to other relationships, they're still working you at the same time if it's a romantic relationship. So just know that no contact is ultimately the absolute best option. But if you cannot do that, then limit it. And remember that almost everything they say is probably not true for the most part. It's got an agenda in it, and it's not in your best interest. So as I always say, thank you so much for listening to me today. And as I always say, it's not you. It's your scary Sibs. Thank you. And tune in to all the other good shows on Green Ink Radio. And this is sponsored by Green Ink Marketing Communication, as all shows are. Check them out at greenink.us.com. They bring your stories to life. See you next time.
Music provided by Immunuri. Check them out at imunuri.com. Thanks for listening to Spaz on Mental Health. Tune into greeninkradio.com to listen to other great shows hosted by a collective of imperfect gurus. greeninkradio.com, an experience for the curious mind.